Those of you Christians who, in the face of critical biblical questions, you always mention that we need to read the Bible with spiritual mind to have spiritual understanding. I have a question for you. This physical mind or brain that God gave us is the greatest computer in this world. It is self-aware, self-reprogramming with the biggest infinite space. The mind is designed to help us make choices in life based on the proper analysis of the brain. For anything that must settle in your heart, the door to your heart is the mind, just as the way to the tummy is the mouth. Same way you need to process the food from the mouth before it rests comfortably in your tummy to avoid the food choking you, be it words spoken by someone or written. The brain must digest it very well before it goes to settle comfortably in your heart. That is why if someone is standing before you and the person is telling lies, the brain detects it and gives you feedback. So what is the use of this great physical brain if we have to switch it off and open spiritual mind or brain to understand what is physically written in the Bible? If that is the case, why is the Bible not written rather spiritually? Listen, once it is written physically by physical people, it needs to be critically analyzed by the physical brain before it goes into our heart. If the pastor is reading the Bible telling you about money, you don't need spiritual understanding. But the moment critical questions begin to pop up, then we need spiritual understanding. I don't see the reason why God will give you this great brain and give you religion that asks you to switch it off, or religion that discourages critical thinking in place of blind acceptance. They don't want you to think. That is why they ask you to just believe. Just believe simply means that your brain is giving you feedback that something is not right, but you switch it off to just accept it. You are not just believing, you are only compromising the function of your brain. Example, you are told something that doesn't make sense, but you just ignore and choose not to properly assess it with your brain. So you just accept it. You compromise your brain. Even in AI, before you hack a robot, you have to override the processor or the already programmed intelligence of that robot before you can be able to control it. That is what they are doing to you. They manage to get you ignore the function of your brain, so they stop you from thinking to just accept. That is why they refer to you as a sheep in the church and the pastor as the shepherd. So practically, the relationship between the pastor and the members is a man leading animals, because sheep are animals and the shepherd is a man. The sheep doesn't think for herself. The man or the shepherd does the thinking for her. So they tell you the loving God take the life of his innocent child to save his other children from the enemy he himself created. And you shout, amen, amen. Instead of asking, why not take the life of the enemy rather? They tell you God knows the end from the beginning. So he already knows those who will go to hell. And you shout, amen. You refuse to use your brain to ask. You know if you create them, they will end in destruction according to your divine plan. Why create them, loving God? They tell you Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. And you shout, amen. Instead of asking, how did he record his own death in his own book? A dead man recorded how he died. They tell you the wages of sin is death. You shout, amen. You couldn't ask them, why is the devil still alive then? They tell you plenty nonsense, but you just believe without using your engine. So you end up in the church shouting amen to everything. Your engine is override. This is the time to question everything before believing.